It was 4 a.m. in California, but my body insisted on reminding me that it was noon in Cambridge. I was exhausted from the intercontinental flight and by a day spent in debate with some of the most influential personalities in biogerontology at an invitation-only brainstorming workshop on ideas to combat aging. Evolutionary biologist Michael Rose was there. So were calorie restriction researchers Richard Weinrich and George Roth, nanotechnologist Robert Freitas, and several others. But I couldn't sleep. On top of the mismatch between biological and geographical clocks, I was frustrated at what I saw as the day's failure to make any real progress toward a concrete, realistic anti-aging plan. As I dozed and pondered, a question on the nature of metabolism and aging wormed its way into my brain and wouldn't let go. In my bleary irritation, I sat up, ran my hands over my beard, and began pacing the room, turning over the quandary in my mind. Quote, normal metabolism was just so messy, and the raging debates in the biogerontology literature showed how difficult it was to determine what paced what, which metabolic disruptions were causes of aging, and which were effects or secondary causes that would simply disappear if the underlying primary causes were addressed. How could we make a positive difference in such a complex, poorly understood system? How could any meaningful change made in metabolism not be like a butterfly flapping its wings, apt to cause large unwanted storms further down the line? Then a second line of thought began to form in my mind. Idly at first, just a notion. The real issue, surely, was not which metabolic processes cause aging damage in the body, but the damage itself. 40-year-olds have fewer healthy years to look forward to than 20-year-olds because of differences in their molecular and cellular composition, not because of the mechanisms that gave rise to those differences. How far could I narrow down the field of candidate causes of aging by focusing on the molecular damage itself? Well, I thought, it can't hurt to make a list. There are mutations in our chromosomes, of course, which cause cancer. There is glycation, the warping of proteins by glucose. There are the various kinds of junk that accumulate outside the cell, extracellular aggregates, beta amyloid, the lesser-known transthyretin, and possibly other substances of the same general sort. There is also the unwholesome goo that builds up within the cell, intracellular aggregates, such as lipofuscin. There's cellular senescence, the aging of individual cells which puts them into a state of arrested growth and causes them to produce chemical signals dangerous to their neighbors. And there's the depletion of stem cell pools essential to healing and maintenance of tissue. And of course, there are mitochondrial mutations, which seem to disrupt cellular biochemistry by increasing oxidative stress. I had for a few years felt optimistic that scientists could solve this problem by copying mitochondrial DNA from its vulnerable spot at ground zero within the free radical generating mitochondria into the bomb shelter of the cell nucleus, where damage to DNA is vastly rarer. Now, if only we had solutions like that for all this other stuff, I mused, we could forget about the butterfly effect of interfering with basic metabolic processes and just take the damage itself out of the picture. Well, I thought, why the bloody hell not? The biomedical revolution described in this book is still some way off, at least a few decades, maybe more. Why then, you may ask, should you concern yourself with it now? The answer is simple. Once you know what I have to tell you, you'll want to make it happen sooner, and some of you will put that desire into action. The more people are aware of what has now become foreseeable in the fight against our oldest foe, aging, the faster it will become acceptable to come out as an ardent opponent of aging, and then unacceptable not to. We aren't close enough to this revolution to put accurate timescales on its arrival, but we are close enough that our action or inaction today will affect the date at which aging is defeated.